I will be teaching you how to balance a chemical equation. Okay, so first off, here are the chemicals. We have CH4 plus O2 yields CO2 plus H2O. And that is symbolized by these letters right here. CH4 plus O2 yields CO2 plus H2O. Okay, so the first thing to do when you're balancing equations is to make up a kind of score sheet, because in chemical equations, everything on this side that's reacting on this side has to be the same as what's on that side. So like if there's 4 H's on this side, there has to be 4 H's on that side. Everything has to be the same according to the law of conservation of mass. You can't have something just disappear or just appear out of nowhere. So there has to be the same thing on both sides, and that's why we balance. So here are our two score sheets. So first you have to find out how many C's are on this side. So you can just count, there's 1 C on this side. So we just write a 1 down for the C. Next, you have to find how many H's are on this side. Well, there's 4 H's, 1, 2, 3, 4. So then you write down a 4 for your H. And then how many O's are on this side, and there's 2 O's. So you write down a 2 for your O. Now we're going to do the same thing to the other side. So we count how many C's we have on this side. We have 1 C. There are 2 H's. And there are 3 O's, 2 from the carbon dioxide and 1 from the H2O. So there's 3 O's altogether. Okay, the next step is to compare your two score sheets and see if they're the same. So the C's are the same, but the H's are not the same, and the O's are also not the same. So this is where the balancing comes in. With balancing, you can't just add like 2 H's on this side. You can't just add 2 H's. You have to add a whole nother molecule of what you have over here. So we have an option of adding a whole nother H2O or CO2. And we're looking for some H's, so we have to add another H2O molecule. Okay, so now we added another H2O molecule. We have to record what we've done on this equation right here. So instead of writing out CO2 plus H2O plus another H2O, like this, instead of writing out plus another H2O, this works just the same as variables in math. So just as you would have x plus 5 equals 10, you can just combine those two x's and just say 2x. So you have 2x plus 5 equals 10. That's a much simpler form rather than writing out x plus 5 equals 10. The same thing works with chemical equations. So we have 2 H2O's, so we can just write out CO2 plus 2 H2O, because we have 2 H2O molecules. So we're going to write that over here because we're just recording our work. So we have to write out a 2 in front of the H2O because there are 2 molecules of H2O over there. So 2. Now we have to go back to our score sheet and write down how many elements we have of each. So on this side we changed something. We changed how many H's and how many O's there were. So we have to count up how many H's we have. 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 4 H's. So you just take your score sheet, you cross out what you originally had as 2, and you write down what you now have. So 4. But because we had to add a whole nother H2O molecule, we also have another O. So now we have 2 O's. So we have to cross out what we originally had and put in 2 more. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 O's. Okay. So now you look back and compare your two score sheets from both sides. You still have one carbon, so that's good, that's balanced. And now you have 4 hydrogens, so that's balanced, that's good. But your oxygens are still unbalanced. So there's way more oxygens on this side than there are on this side. So over here we have to add something with the oxygen. Now, because like I said before, you have to add a whole another molecule. You can't just add 2 more oxygen. You have to find which one has oxygen in it, and that's this one. So we're going to add another O2. Okay, we added another O2. So, just like before with the math analogy, we have to record our work. So now we have 2 O2s. So I'm just writing a 2 out front in my chemical equation. We have 2 O2s now. Now you go back to your score sheet for this side and you count up what has changed. The O's have changed. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4 O's. So you go back on your score sheet, cross out what you originally had, and put down what you now have. So now we have 4 O's. The last step is comparing your 2 score sheets. Make sure everything is the same on both sides. So on both sides we both have 1 carbon, we both have 4 H's, and 4 O's. And that is all said right here in this chemical equation. And that's how you visually show how to balance an equation.